Hello and welcome. I'm your host, author Ryan M. Oliver, and this is the Mighty Books Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Mighty Books Podcast. Today with me, I have Ashley Irvin. So, Ashley is a product of a close-knit military family and was raised with a profound understanding of the value of discipline and its far-reaching influence on character and work ethic. Throughout her upbringing, Ashley's parents instilled in her the paramount importance of education and the foundation it lays for future success. Consequently, she pursued and earned her business degree, originally harboring dreams of becoming an entrepreneur. However, Ashley's life took an unexpected turn when she found herself immersed in the healthcare industry. It was during this unanticipated journey that the idea of becoming an author briefly crossed her mind, revealing a path to her passion for storytelling into a viable business endeavor with the potential to touch lives worldwide. Ashley, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing this morning?
Great, thank you very much. So you've had a very interesting life, it sounds like, and I definitely want to go into that and ask some questions. But we're here to talk about your book today. What's the title of your book?
The Little Shepherd and the Lost Sheep.
And that book is a children's book.
Yes,
Yes,
children's books.
awesome. Well, so what is the synopsis of your children's book?
So we have a father who's a shepherd, and he's teaching his young son the importance of tending to the sheep, so feeding the sheep, giving it water and shade. And so one day, they were putting the sheep into the pen for the night. So then a storm came through and it broke the side of the fence. So one sheep escapes. So the next day they found a sheep missing. And so the father told the son, well, let's go find this lost sheep. And the son's like, well, why are we trying to find this one sheep when we have so many others? And so they go out to this journey, and during this journey, the father teaching the son the importance of going after, this one lost one and bringing it back home. So
Okay.
it's just a nice little story for children to understand responsibility, empathy, compassion, and whatnot.
Yeah, that's a strong, necessary virtues we need to instill in our children, and
Yes.
it can take time, and it can be very challenging, actually, very challenging.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I mean, to go from a extrinsic reward system, like if you do this one thing, you get, versus intrinsic to do it because it's the right thing to do. It's the way you want to live your life, and usually a lot more rewards and come from doing things intrinsically because it's the right
Right.
thing to do.
Hmm.
So I'm sure that has a lot to do with your upbringing as a, like I said, close-knit military family. That's a huge
Yes.
part. Yep.
Hmm.
Was your mother or father in the military?
My mom.
Your mom? Okay. Stationed in Texas?
At that time, well, we travel all over the place,
Yeah, I figured.
um, but mainly we were in Hawaii for a long
Oh,
period,
okay.
and then during her last few years being in the service, stationed here in Texas, and she retired, and so the family we just stayed here.
Oh, okay, awesome. So I'm guessing, I mean, Navy or
Army.
Army? Army. Okay. I was like,
Hmm.
Pearl Harbor. Yeah, they have
Yeah.
Army and Navy base. Army and Navy base. So I'm like, Texas usually houses the Army as far as I know. I think that and Air Force, I believe. Correct me if I'm
Yes.
wrong. Okay.
Hmm.
We're Navy town in Bremerton, Washington. So a lot of Navy folk
Um,
over here. A lot and a couple of we have an Army base, but and Air Force is a lot of there's just a lot of military around. So definitely get that part. So what was the inspiration to write your story?
so I've always had a passion for writing. I've always wrote poems. I would write like in my journal as a child, but I never thought it would be a career. I never saw it as a career. And so that's why I kind of pursued like a business, career. But recently, and just seeing just the way this world has become, like a lot of children are just focused on computers, laptops, phones. And so I'm like, well, I want to create content that has, life skills, moral values, and also fun for children to kind of get them away from using too much screen time and more back into reading. So my books are mainly more towards like a lesson learned, like just kind of like morals and stuff. So I want, from this book on to kind of keep that theme of teaching children, you know, just life skills and important values that we need to have growing up into the adult life.
Oh, 100%. And I found with kids who read more and have, like you said, less screen time, their patience is a lot better and their attention
Yes.
span is a lot better, which is
Yeah.
really great in our very fast moving, technology based, screen
Mm-hmm.
heavy society. I found a lot of kids who are able to hold conversations, actually sit there and chat with us for a long period of time without getting too distracted, generally are not as fixated on video games or screen time. They're doing more family, have more of a tighter knit family and have interests that are outside of, a room where it's just a bunch of screens and TVs and such. So
Mm-hmm.
outside activities, I'm sure. So, well, that's really great to do. Now, I'm very interested in your career trajectory because um, when we're young, it's always funny, they want us to pick a pick a job, pick a career when we're very young and maybe not terribly experienced. I mean, life is, we live on this, if you're lucky, about 100 years. And they're like, in the first 15, 20 years, you need to figure out what you want to do. Are you kidding me? I barely experienced life. So it's so interesting and it's very refreshing because I have a similar trajectory going one way and then picking a different path. Um, how did that come to fruition? How did you go from business slash entrepreneur to the medical field and then to author storyteller, and which kind of oddly circle back to kind of entrepreneur again? Can you kind of go into that for me for a little bit?
Yeah. So I completely agree with what you were saying. Like, so when I was in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Yeah.
I knew I did have like a leadership personality. I knew that I wanted to be something in business.
Okay.
I knew I wanted to either own my own business or be like a manager or something. I don't want to be like, higher up.
Sure.
So I got a college degree in business management. And the thing about that is I didn't have any experience. So with the degree, no one's hiring me to have no experience. I can't get experience because no one's hiring me. So I had to basically, with a college degree, start at the bottom. So
Yeah.
I had to look for like front desk clerk or, just like, entry level jobs.
Yeah.
And so I ended up in healthcare because I found a doctor's office that needed a clerk. So I applied, they brought me in, and I got a lot of experience with the healthcare industry. I did medical records, I did scheduling for procedures and all that good stuff. And so that's why I'm in healthcare. So right now I am in a mental health department. And
Okay.
basically I help service members and
Oh,
their family locate mental health and substance abuse treatment facilities.
oh, great.
So whenever we get, a service member or their spouse or children that's needing mental health services,
Yeah.
I help them locate someone in their area to, give them what they need.
Mm,
But even though I do love helping people, I do, have compassion for these people that need, these services. But my heart is in business. My heart is to be, an entrepreneur. So that's why recently, last year, let me start writing again. Let me turn my passion into a business.
yeah.
So I got back into writing and I'm here now.
Cool. That's great though. Isn't that interesting how that happens? It's just it kind of everything comes full circle again. You want to focus on what you love to do. And it's kind of like listening to your inner child a little bit. It's what did I love doing as a kid? As you said, you loved writing, poetry and maybe some stories when you were younger, and you're aiming in that direction. It just makes sense. And it's kind of painful. We have to balance what pays the bills and with what we love to do. You
Right.
have to kind of chase both. Otherwise, you can't eat. I don't know about you. I enjoy a meal every now and then.
Yes.
Living inside, I do like doing that. So it can be a heck of a challenge. So when did this book come out? When was it published?
This was published late January. So January 26th was when
Right.
it became available on Amazon.
2024 this year.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah, it's so cool. And you said, how long did it take you to get it all done? So going from I have an idea, I wrote it out, you got the pictures done and published. How long did it take you to do?
For this particular book, it took me about 4 to 5 months.
Wow, that's pretty
Um,
quick. That's awesome.
yeah, I had a team, so I was
Oh,
able to find a hybrid publishing company that has like, the editors, formatters, illustrators all together.
mhm.
So they were able to do that for me real quick.
That's
But I
great.
think the longest process is I have an idea, but it's like how to put it on paper. Because I have like these different, like scenarios, different characters. But it's like, okay, well, how do I make it into a story to make it flow?
Right.
So I think the idea part and putting on paper is probably the longest. But once I have it written down, it's just a much quicker process.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm always curious with children's books. It's just because I would love to kind of go into that world too. I write fiction and novels and such, but I would love the idea of children's books. I used to be a public school teacher, so being in the schools with the kids and then they resonate with picture books. It's just what they do.
Hmm.
That's the age group. So I'm always really interested in how you and your illustrator communicated what you had in your head onto picture, literal paper. So how was your experience with working with the illustrator?
I enjoyed it. So
Good.
what I did was, so they told me to go search for images online.
Okay.
So for like the father, how do you envision the father? So then I would find a picture of what I want the father to be, like the hairstyle, the skin color, the kind of
Mhm.
clothes he wore.
Right.
And I would forward these pictures to the illustrator and they would kind of do a sketch. And then I would just kind of,
Gotcha.
think, okay, well, change this, change that. But
Yeah.
basically I'm finding images online and then just showing them, what I wanted.
Okay, so you're heavily invested in the illustration process.
Yes.
Okay, because I've heard
Mhm.
various folks. I mean, it depends on the medium you use too. If someone's drawing everything out versus, like you said, finding images online and they're piecing them together. But that's really cool though. You get to kind of go headlong, kind of have control, really have a lot
Mhm.
of control on what your book looks like in the end. So that's
Yeah.
that's got to feel good. That's got to feel
It
good.
does because if I'm not satisfied, then I'm not gonna be, I'm not gonna promote my book. If I'm not happy of
100%.
it about it, I'm not gonna want to market it. So I need to be
Absolutely.
satisfied with what I see, what I read, what I have. That way,
Hmm.
go from there.
Yeah, so I'm also curious about like what you said it was the hardest part was getting it onto paper, written down. Did you want to make it like a lot longer? Make it more
I
complicated?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. But of course, like the illustrators charge per page.
They do. Yeah.
And I like my characters to be very detailed. So you see a lot of different kind of illustrations with different children's books. Like some are like very like basic, some
Yeah.
are very like simple. But like I like very detailed. I like to
Okay.
see, each facial expression. I like to see, the clothes, like these are the clothes. So it does cost a little bit more when you want that. So I have to kind of shorten in my story
Right.
to kind of outweigh the cost.
Absolutely. Yeah, you kind of have to give and take, and sometimes it takes longer because if you're ponying up the dough, as it were, if you're paying for it, it takes a little time to get the money up. So it's good that I'm
Hmm.
really impressed you're able to get that done in 4 to 5 months. That's awesome. That's really cool. I've heard some illustrators or some authors take years to get their stuff done just because of time, money, and
Hmm.
experience. So it's great that you've already got the path laid for future books. You said there will be future books?
Yes.
That's awesome. Do you have a number in mind, or are you just going to go with every idea you have?
Well, I have at least 10 ideas.
Wow, great. That's
So,
awesome. So you'll be
so
busy.
we'll see how long it takes me. But I did just I have another one that just came out 2 days ago.
Oh, wow. Look at you just pumping the books
Yeah.
out.
So I'm
Wow.
just trying to I have so many ideas, it's just getting them out there.
Yeah, how do you deal with that when you have so many ideas? How do you pick the one you want to work on next? Like that's so hard for
It
me.
It is
It's
hard.
so hard.
It is.
How do you decide like that one and then not get distracted with everything else you got going on?
I don't know. I think um I mean you're off, you know how it is. It's
Yeah.
it's like you work with one book, you have this idea, but then while you're working with this one, you have another idea for this one. So you're working on this one. It's like going back and forth between books.
Uh-huh.
And so it's like, well, okay, which one can I, well, since children's books are much shorter than fiction or nonfiction books.
Sure.
So what I do is I kind of see, okay, well, which story can I kind of complete quicker
Okay.
than another story?
Right. That
So
makes sense. Well, and also it takes a certain level of discipline though to
yeah,
yes, I acknowledge I have these ideas. For me, I have to write them down and kind of flesh them out.
yes, me
That way,
too.
kind of put a pin in it. It's like, okay, you can go over here and just
Hmm.
relax. I have to focus on you. Otherwise, nothing gets done.
Right.
Nothing
Hmm.
gets done. Are you, so it just came out 2 days ago?
Yes, 24th. So it's yeah, 2 days.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
Can you give us a title of that one?
Yeah, so that one is called Detective Harper and the Bakery Mystery. Now,
Ooh,
this one I'm really excited about because, so going back to the theme of children being so consumed with technology,
right.
I thought, well, let me kind of incorporate that into my book. So what I did was, so being a mystery themed book, I hid a thumbprint that has a code inside the thumbprint. So as the child is reading, when they find that code, they'll go to my website, enter that code on my website, and it will unlock interactive activities based off of the book.
Whoa. What? That's cool. How did you get that idea? That's brilliant. Where did
It
that
just came to me.
just
Like
came
I
to
have to find
you?
something that's different, something that's fun. So
Wow, that's cool. Because that is really neat. Wow. Do you actually like on the back and like find the
yes.
mysterious
So I have the
code?
instructions in the back, and
Yeah.
so it says like, well, did you find the code? And then if so, step one, go to my website. Step two, do this. So I lay it out in the book.
That is super cool. I might be like, yeah, this is an Irvin what do you call it? Invention. They'll call it the Irvin code. That is super cool. I'm gonna write that down. So just saying, I'll give you all the credit. I will give you all the credit, but that's really neat. Very cool. Kudos to
Thank
you on that.
you.
You're welcome. So, now for marketing your book. So obviously that's a brilliant way of marketing your book. Other methods you're using, like going into schools or,
Yes. So being again an author that I'm basically competing against other, authors for our school visits. So I kind of to make myself stand out a bit. I created a activity guide for teachers.
oh, okay.
And so when I go to schools, I'll
Mhm.
have like different activities, like a little, it's like 20 pages, roughly 20 pages of
Okay.
activities based off of the book. So it's like patterns, math activities, um, literary arts activities, science activities, to kind of
Wow.
help with different, curriculum
Hmm.
for the students.
Yeah, well,
And it's
that's
all
great too.
based off of the Shepherd's book.
Sure, sure, sure. And so, are you actually going into the schools and talking to kids about the book too and how to write
I
them? And
haven't
yeah,
entered schools yet, but I am working on contacting different schools, different districts, and reaching
awesome.
out to them.
That's great. I recommend going and getting to the local schools, getting a volunteer, because they have to do the whole background check and that takes a
Yeah.
while. Go get all those done, and then you can start making those relationships with teachers. And what's great is like, I know I'm trying to, but it's hard with a fantasy fiction book. I need to get a picture book like you have. um, Going in and going, here's how you make a story. And I would break it up into like four different lessons. So you can take one class and take them through with making their own story is kind of where
Oh.
I've done it because that's how I got into writing was an author came to our school when I was third grade. So it's been a minute. They came and had a book like yours. It was a picture book, and we had a huge assembly if you could pull that off, it's even greater. Have a huge assembly, and the author sat there and they read when we still had like the overhead projectors. So we're reading that, and it's 300 kids in a big school, and he's reading it, and we're having fun. And then we broke off into our classes, and then he came around to probably a couple dozen classrooms and told us we just had conversation with him on how he wrote his books. It was really cool. So something like that would definitely put your name out there. And then book fairs. Oh my gosh, book fairs. If you can get involved with that, put your stuff on the shelf.
Right. Hmm.
This author is great. You should buy her books. Pat yourself on the back there. So that
Hmm.
so that's good. Yeah, and it just takes time to develop. So
Yeah.
yeah, it really does. Have you thought about working with like networking groups, or are you involved in any reading groups or book groups or anything like that?
I'm on a couple book groups on Facebook.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but no reading groups as of now.
Okay. Okay. Or writers groups. I should say writers groups. That's more or less. But
No writers group. I'm still fairly new to this, so I'm
yeah,
just kind of getting my way, trying to just see, what's out there and stuff. So,
100%. Well, the fact that I love when you said you had your team, that is super important because I mean, I don't know what your experience is with like, computers and everything like that, putting the books together. I have talked to many authors who are want to do everything by themselves. Like they want to do the interior, they want to do the illustrations, the writing. I don't know about you. I'm not an expert in everything. There's
no.
there's no way. I like to focus on the writing portion of it, as
Hmm.
I assume you do too.
Yep,
So
same here. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it just doesn't make sense to be an expert in everything. It's so challenging to do that. And it's
Hmm.
and timeliness is a thing also. But what feedback have you gotten so far about your Shepherd book?
I got a lot of people loving it. A lot of
Great.
people have been leaving like great reviews on Am. I have like 21 reviews on that book.
Nice.
So that to me, that's good. That's
That's that's stellar for only being out for a few months. That's really great
hmm.
because it's so hard. It's so saturated these days. It's
Yes.
very challenging, very
And
challenging.
it does get kind of like discouraging because there's so many great authors out there, and it's like, well, how do I make my book, stand out? So
I know, and unfortunately, it's kind of like it's what you get at, what you put into it,
yes.
and
Hmm.
so I mean, and where that makes sense, but it's really challenging as someone who has to work.
Right.
You have those 40 hours, sometimes more a week you're spending working hard, and then you have the house and you have your life and you got to sleep sometime. So
Hmm.
it's just trying to find those niches and times to put forth the effort. So when you're working on your future books, do you usually write those in the evening, or is it kind of only you do it
Kind
when
of do it
inspiration hits?
like, yeah, kind of inspiration hits, but kind of do
Okay.
it throughout the day as I get like, I guess it all depends on if the idea comes, then I'll kind of write it down or
Yeah. Okay. Well,
just
that's good.
whenever it comes to me.
Yeah. I always get it when I'm driving a car, and that's a terrible time to get an idea. You don't want to be using your phone while you're driving and writing that
Right.
the pull
Right.
over, and it's a
Well,
it's an
someone gave me a good idea because I was telling somebody that I always get like these like good ideas like late at night in
hmm
the middle of sleeping. I just wake up with like an idea. I'd be so sleepy. I don't want to turn the light on and get a paper and pen. So they say grab your phone and kind of record yourself saying it.
That's a good idea
So
too. That's a great idea. Yeah, I've heard those two do the nighttime recordings or do just a kind of inspiration. Okay, do that, and then you take care of it later. But that
hmm.
makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Your family pretty excited that you're got a couple of books out?
Yes.
Yeah,
They've
yeah.
been bragging.
They've been bragging. That is the greatest marketing tool right there.
Uh,
You want to brag? Go ahead. Mom, Dad, go ahead. Brag away.
um,
Yes. Yeah. I love that. That's so
and
good.
it's so funny because my dad, he has my business cards and he'll
Oh,
go to like random stores, like, hey, my daughter's an author.
isn't that funny? So I'm curious because a lot of the authors I talk about are, I'm going to say the word introverts. Not that they're out and outgoing, but they also don't like to talk about themselves. Yeah, similar?
Yes, I'm an
Yeah.
introvert. I don't like talking.
No. Well, I myself an introvert. I actually am an instructor for a living, so I have to talk. But
Uh-huh.
I always see it as like how your energy, is expelled. So extroverts get energy from talking to people. I
Mm-hmm.
like talking to people, but I usually get tired from doing it. It's more of a draining thing. I still love doing it because
Uh-huh.
I do it for a living, but I get sleepy. I get very tired after. I gotta be by myself for a few hours and then I'm good to go. But I've always talked to many who are great authors, but hate promoting themselves. Just hate it. So
Mm-hmm.
give it to the family. I'll promote the hell out of you. I'll promote you like crazy. But me promoting me, I have the hardest time doing it. So it's a trait
Yeah,
I
I'm the
found.
same way. I don't like talking about myself. It's just,
Yeah,
mm.
it feels braggy, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah, it's
So I'd
just
rather just kind of like send email, like, hey, I got a book out, like kind of do it that way. But just talking to people about it, it's like, mm,
Yeah, it feels too showboaty. And
yeah,
I don't like feeling showboaty. Yeah. It's like I'm not a narcissist, I swear, but I did this cool thing. Just if if it won't bother you, can you take a look at it?
right, right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, but anyway. Well, so where can people get copies of your book? Actually, both books now, which is super exciting. That's amazing.
Hmm.
Yeah, where can get people?
Yeah, so they're both on Amazon. So the first one again was called The Little Shepherd and the Lost Sheep.
Hmm.
And then the one that just came out 2 days ago is Detective Harper and the Bakery Mystery.
Awesome.
You could also go to my website if you want to go through my website. It's authorashleyirvin.com. And you could find me on Facebook at author Ashley Irvin.
Amazing. Very, very cool. Can they get signed copies from you?
Yeah, so if you order
Yeah.
from my website, I could do it that way. But since Amazon, no, it ships from Amazon, I can't sign that. But if you ship it, if you order from my website, I do sign those copies.
Yes. Please go to her website and buy them from her directly, because then she will get all the credit, she will get the profits, and then that
Yes.
money can go into other books. That's kind of how this whole thing works. And then she can sign it and personalize it for you, which is really cool. That's a cool gift getting it from an author themselves.
Yes.
Well, I really appreciate that. Yes. Well, amazing. Well, Ashley, this has been great. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about your books today. I'm really excited for you. I think you got a lot going on for yourself.
I do, but thank you for having me.
Heck yeah. And when you get your umpteen other books out, it doesn't have to be that long, in a year or so, I'd love to check in with you and chat with you again and see how everything's going.
Most definitely, yes. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. Just hit me up when you're ready to talk again. And we will make something work. We will make something work. So, yeah, but thanks again.
All right, thank you.
Of course. Guys, go get some awesome children's books. Check her out. She's out in Texas. Where about in Texas?
San Antonio.
San Antonio. Okay. If you're out in San Antonio, Texas, hit her up. I'm sure she'd love to talk about her books. And you can buy one directly from her, which would be really cool too. Go on Amazon, buy some neat stuff, give it away as gifts. Give it away as gifts. You definitely want to do that for your kiddos and their parents. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Go get some awesome, awesome literature. And as always, stay mighty and keep reading.